Welcome to William Morrow Sculptures. Meet the legend, Mr. William Morrow.
My name is William Morrow, and I'm a metal sculptor, uh, and started doing this sort of work in 19 early 70s, we'll say. I was living in Glenwood Springs in a trailer house. My younger brother was working at a Ford dealership in Rifle, and he'd bring me all pieces and parts off of the cars that they'd work on. This is one of the examples of what I was doing then. And like these are valves out of the engine, springs out of something, various parts, you know. And he'd bring me stuff like this from the Ford dealership. And my mom worked for the Atlantic Richfield Oil Company during the oil shale days. And one of her employers' wives had a gift shop in Oklahoma City, and she would sell these things. She'd buy anything I made for, I wouldn't sell them for much, $5, $10, you know, and she'd sell them. So it was easy cash deal, and that's where I got started. But then I did a lot of other things beyond that.
Art on the Corner began in Grand Junction, Colorado in 1984, where William Morrow gave 6 pieces to the first year. He is one of the founders of Art on the Corner, now celebrating 40 years.
So the next thing, what did I next get into doing metalwork? For as sculpture goes, I didn't really get into really seriously about being an artist until 19 early 80s, when Exxon was, the boom days of the oil shale was going on. And when Exxon pulled out, the whole Mesa County all the way to Garfield County, everybody went bust. I mean, they just flushed everything down the tubes, and I lost everything I had. But before the bank ended up with my house and my shop, I did manage to get involved in a project there called Art on the Corner, which was trying to revitalize the downtown area of Grand Junction with getting some public art out there. It was kind of a surprise attack that we did. Nobody knew about it except the people that were directly involved with the project. Dave Davis had a lot of equipment and a lot of material to play with, and so once I got my wire feed welder set up, my neighbor asked me, well, what are you going to do with this thing now you got it set up? And I said, oh, I think I'll build a lizard.
Bill builds a lizard, and it is a sensation, instantaneous success. And that's what started his career in the metal art industry with all his thousands of pieces of work. You might want to participate in our event coming up soon, so keep watching.
And I had a bunch of 3/16 inch steel rod, 20-foot pieces, nice straight rod, that had been given to me by another fellow that had lost his business and had to get rid of the metal. So I started discovering that I could lay these things out and bend them where I wanted and make shapes with them and then fill in between them.
Bill takes a minute to share his technique so you can understand the magnificence and intensity of his work.
Okay. This is an example of what I discovered with the steel rod. If you can see how this is made with steel rod and welded in between, and I could just make any shape I wanted to with this rod and weld in between. So it was a lot of welding, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And one of the things that I did, the first thing I did really was to build this lizard. Then using that technique that I just showed you, I decided to build a lizard. And so I just got started, and it came out to be a pretty impressive piece of work. In fact, when later in that same year, I had a show, a one-man show at a gallery in in Grand Junction in the Third Street Gallery, and it was uh, it was sold at that show for $3,000, which he said was the best show it had, in years. So
Awesome. And that was
that
40 years ago.
yeah.
Wow.
So that really, that really kind of set fire, you know, and so I kept doing sculpture until I lost everything I had and had to move to Carbondale, go to work in a fab shop.
When you were building the War Memorial, can you elaborate a little bit more about that for us?
Well, the War Memorial was really the last big piece of sculpture I did in Grand Junction. It was in Art on the Corner for one show or 1 year, and it was a statement about war. I tried to make an ugly monster that represented war, and it didn't sell, but I hauled it to Carbondale with me, and then after several years of Carbondale and having it on the street, and actually literally years, I'd say 3 years, of negotiating with a fellow from West Springfield, Massachusetts. He kept trying to chisel me down on the price. I had it priced originally at $25,000, and I knew I was dreaming a little there, but then he just kept chiseling on me, and I kept coming down a little bit at a time, and finally it got down to 18,000, and he blew my mind. He said, "Sold." So he didn't mention the fact that he wanted me to deliver it. That was trying to come out that I couldn't deliver it, or I couldn't ship it until he paid for it, but he wasn't going to pay for it till he had received it. So that left me having to drive all the way to West Springfield, Massachusetts in the storm of the century in '93 and deliver it and pick up 2 checks.
Oh my.
Okay.
We were just talking about Art on the Corner, which was 40 years ago this month, basically, and this is June 29th, 2024. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so what were you were thinking about those pieces, what were those pieces that were the initial grabbers for that whole entire organization to even be set up, and why they loved your art so much?
Year one in Art on the Corner in Grand Junction, I had 6 pieces that I'd committed to put in the show. Got down to the end of the deadline of getting them all ready, and I was 1 piece short, and I created one I called the Junkyard Jungle. I just got in my junkyard and started building the jungle. And recently that piece was donated to the Rifle Parks and Recreation Department, and it's here in Rifle, permanent. The other pieces that were in the first year was music, which was purchased. It was after the show. I don't think it was purchased through the Art on the Corner, but it may have been. It was. Was purchased by the Avalon Theater on 7th and Grand Junction, and another piece was called Dance, which is it's still there for sale.
That's included in the auction.
And included in the auction we're putting together now. Good music, dance, and the War Memorial. War Memorial was, and it took a few years to completely finish it. I'd find something I wanted to do to it and go back to it, but it didn't sell until '93.
So when did you start making your large pieces that are the amazing sculptures that you have today?
Well, some of those large pieces I still have.
I know, and that's part of why we're here for the auction as well. But when did you start that process?
After I ended up in Rifle again.
Okay.
My dad had a small farm here in Rifle. Well, he had sold off most of it. He had sold off all the farmland except for 5 acres, the house and the barn and a few outbuildings that he kept. And the shop, that was already there. Mom was falling on the stairs. They wanted to move out of that house, get away from the stairs. They offered that house to me because I had to move out of Carbondale at that time because the house that I was renting was sold and the new owners wanted to remodel it and go commercial. So I moved into the old house in Rifle for the same amount of rent that they were paying in the senior housing at Battlement. And that gave me my own shop, which I hadn't had for years. I mean, I just had a house in town there with a little bit of a space outside to work. But now I had a real shop. And that's when I started building my larger stuff. A lot of the stuff that's out here that's for sale, I've ever built there. Like the Insane Cycle. I've got pictures of that, work in progress. A lot of the big stuff out there is work that I created out there at Rifle. But my dad had made up his mind that he was not going to die until that property was sold. And so I was going to buy it. I put together, got the shop built, was really working hard to put it together. And my wife had a varices bleed, was put in the hospital, and my dreams of buying that property from my parents disappeared. So then I put together a plan to create an art center for Rifle. They already had a 501c3, and I put together a prospectus for the plan to turn it into an art and cultural center. And I contacted the 501c3 group, and they just literally turned over the nonprofit organization to my group, and they purchased the 5 acres in the house that was remaining there. They purchased all of that with my parents carried a note for $3,750 was the $37,500. I'm sorry, was the note that they carried on the property. And anyway, after my wife ended up in the hospital, there was no way I was going to buy it. So I did manage to raise the money. I raised $137,500 from donors in the Aspen area that want to remain anonymous to purchase that property for the 501c3 and make it an art center. And then I continued to make sculpture there whenever I wasn't doing interior, handrails and stairways and fireplaces and stuff for the rich folks up in Aspen. And then my wife passed away in 2005, and in 2006 I lost my board of directors before that. The gas drilling boom took away my board of directors from heaven because they had to start the Down Valley Coalition to protect the landowners from the drilling outfits. And anyway, one year later, after struggling for years after my wife went in the hospital, the Art Council decided to kick me out. So
the fact that you, Mr. Morrow, set up the Art Council for the town of Rifle here in Colorado, I think is very impressive, and thank you for your contribution for what you've done for our town and for the Roaring Fork Valley. I think that was just impressive. Some of your pieces I've seen all around the city as well as throughout the entire Roaring Fork Valley. And now here we are in 2024 getting ready to auction off all of the remaining of your incredible pieces that are available. So We are having an event. Come and meet the legend William Morrow and his one-of-a-kind metal art on display at this event only. Come, see, bid, own a William Morrow legacy piece. One day only, September 15th, 2024, Rifle Library from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. You can meet the artist at the artist reception, and then after that, we will take you to the second location so you can see the large architectural pieces available, hear his stories, and place your bids while at the library up until September 21st, 2024. We'll see you there.
Currently, I'm pushing 80 years old. Not quite there yet, but I've got a lot of sculpture left, and the only family I have left now is my grandson and granddaughter, and the legacy that I have for them is 2 truckloads of sculpture, which neither of them would have a place to put it or know what to do with it. So we're having an auction, and we're going to pedal it off on Peace Day. Peace Day, which is the
21st of September, 2024.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's my gal Friday. She's filling in blank spots in my brain.
What did you just say?
Oh, I said thank you for filling in. I said that was my girl Friday.
Yep, that's awesome. You're very welcome, sir. So we are having an auction throughout from now until September 21st, which is throughout the remaining of the summer. And they can go to the website, which is williammorrowsculptures.com, and make their bid. The closeout date of that is the 21st of September of this year, 2024, at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Okay.
What would you like to do? Okay, that's what we're doing. So, to see a lot of the collection for the William Morrow sculptures, keep continuing on this video, and then also check out the website williammorrowsculptures.com. Place your bid there. It is a silent auction. We will be showing all the pieces that we can at the September event at the library in Rifle, Colorado, September 15th, 2024, from 2:30 to 4:30 again. And then you can place your bids on up to the 21st of September. Thank you for assisting William Morrow in his legacy to his grandchildren and being a part of history with his legacy art.